Okay, welcome back. So we talked about the three fundamental principles of life and how that pertains to being unbreakable. And now you're starting to get a context of what it means to be unbreakable. You see, there is no pot of gold in the end of the rainbow. You have to do the work. You have to keep going. You have to put the effort in. You got to set a goal. You got to look out into the horizon. You got to see something that you want to achieve. You have to adapt yourself, challenge yourself to get there, and then as you do that, you will start to evolve. But first, if you don't have this first part, which is function, which is what we're going to be talking about right now, if you don't have function, how are you going to adapt? Perfect example. Think of function. I mean, this is really what function is. You have a number of systems in your body. You have your hepatic system, you have your GI system, gastrointestinal system, you have your cardiovascular system, you have your nervous system, you have all these systems that are working in concert with one another. And if any one of those is dysfunctional, is not functioning as an optimal part of you, now all of a sudden you as a whole being no longer are as adaptable as you possibly can be. And so in order to be your healthiest self, again, you know you have to go in this direction. It's not just working out. It's simply moving in that direction. By the movement towards potential, that is health, period. So again, in order for us to be adaptable, we must function. So here's how to know at a again, this is a global view, global perspective, very simplistic view, but it's gonna help you understand the basic equation of what function is. Again, when you get into the Unbreakable Body course, Unbreakable Mind course, and even the Unbreakable Spirit course, you're going to start realizing that there are going to be very specific details on how to optimize function for you specifically. For instance, you could optimize function for your cardiovascular system, but is it at a cost for some other system? Again, that's where the practices come in. For right now, I want you to understand this basic equation, okay? The basic equation for you as a human on this earth, again, we live in this physical reality called life, is that we are dictated, our function as a human is dictated by really the balance of two principles of physics. Again, two fundamental laws of physics. And the first fundamental law of physics is entropy. In fact, think of this, this is actually the second law of thermodynamics, if you want to dive into that one. If any engineers are watching right now, you kind of understand what this is. Entropy is simply taking everything from order, right, and moving it into disorder. So, perfect example, if an atom is connected, we need entropy in order for it to break an electron off, so that it can now look for, now it's out of balance, right? Now it can look for another electron to bond to. So imagine it's coming together with another atom, if you want to call it that, with another atom and creating a molecule, right? So that's how all is created. So out of chaos comes order. Now, we need that in order for us to live. We need this system. There has to be a movement, right, away, a breaking apart in order for us to be developed. Without that, nothing will happen. Now, there also has to be a balance, which is on the other side of this. On the other side of this is what's called enthalpy. So enthalpy is the exact opposite. It takes the disorder and creates order out of it. Now, when you do that, there is simply an exchange. That's all that's happening. If you think about this idea, this is the cause for all things in life. This is the cause for relationship. You're probably thinking, well, like, I don't get it. How does this have to do with my relationship? Well, understand this. If you don't talk to your significant other, entropy is always going to happen. I should have mentioned that before. Entropy is constant, it's cumulative, and it's effortless. It takes no effort for it to break energy apart. So if in a relationship you're not communicating with your significant other, you're not even talking to that person, there's going to be natural entropy. How are you going to function as humans, especially if there's challenge in your system, heaven forbid, major illness or something is going to happen, now all of a sudden you're less adaptable in your relationship and your relationship breaks down. Now follow me as far as we are considered for health. Okay, so entropy being constant, cumulative, and effortless, it's also the reason we have to eat. It's the reason we have to sleep. It's the reason we have to drink water. It's the reason we have to breathe. It's the reason our cells are always breaking down. It's the reason we're aging. It's because of entropy. Now, because of entropy, here's the other thing, is that entropy equals loss. And if you think about everything you fear in this life, all of human suffering has to do with entropy. We're so afraid of it that we try to put up walls around us. We try to pat ourselves. We try to pretend like it doesn't exist, but it exists. And in fact, you need it to exist in order for you to become unbreakable. You have to understand this so that you can balance out the equation and set yourself up for success. So again, entropy is constant, cumulative, effortless, always is, always was, always will be, breaking energy apart so that we can then put it back together using enthalpy, and so then the cycle continues. Now, in the middle, what is being moved is simply there's just an exchange. All things in life that we hold valuable is just an exchange. Again, our finances, literally, that's just an exchange, right? Our finances, our relationship, we already talked about relationship. Our business, same idea. There has to be an exchange. There has to be a value given and exchange and received, right? Perfect example is like the entropy of a business is expenses. It's overhead. You got to give out. You got to put out. You got to give value. You got to put things out there in order for you to then receive. So on the other side is the enthalpy. If you're not receiving, you don't have a business. So you have to receive in order, and you have to give, and you have to receive, and you have to give. Just like this constant cycle. Now, where we get out of alignment, if you want to call it that, is that we either have too much entropy or we have too much enthalpy. What's too much enthalpy? Well, that's an idea, right? Too much enthalpy is us holding on for dear life. It's just trying to hold on to savings, and there might be mutation in the physical self. Too much enthalpy is actually too much energy in the system. In this case, it would be like cancer or heart disease, right? Too much of something is not a good thing in the same sense. So what we need to do as humans is try to balance out the equation. So in order for us to function, we have to allow for entropy and allow for enthalpy. So what this looks like is simply just identifying the areas of your life as far as entropy are concerned. The areas of your life, another form of this, would be stress. Identify the areas of your life that are excess stress and eliminate those. And then find the areas of your life where you can recover and increase those. Now, you probably noticed a lot of locations or a lot of people are talking about recovery. Of course, recovery is a good thing, but you also have to balance out the stress. For example, if you keep drinking the toxin, maybe that toxin is just like fluoride or chlorine that you're getting from the tap water. If you keep taking in that toxin, or you're eating inorganic foods and you got that pesticide coming in, that glyphosate, well, all of a sudden that stress is still on your system. All the recovery in the world isn't going to help you. So one of the easiest ways to simply improve function is to just take the stressor away. And so for you to take the stressor away, you just need to know the 3 forms of stress, identify them in your life, and then you can be more functional. So what are the 3 forms of stress? Let's talk about that right now. So the three forms of stress are simply this: mental, emotional, physical, and chemical. So chemical stress is like plastics, pesticides. It's like glyphosate that you see those commercials about. It's the asbestos, it's chlorine, fluoride, mercury, all those, that chemical in the air, in the water, in every part of our environment. Now we're starting to understand that Wi-Fi and fluorescent lighting is affecting us in negative ways. So there's all this chemical stress coming into us. Mental, emotional, I'm sure you've had mental emotional stress in the past. And let's just be honest with ourselves for a second. Everybody's got mental emotional stress. And we talk about that in the Unbreakable Mind and the Unbreakable Spirit. And then finally, physical stress. Physical stress. How do you sit at a desk? Are you like this all day? Right? Are you hunched over? Are you functioning as a human should? Are your joints all messed up? Do you have physical stress on your body? Are you taking on a lot of physical stress? Do you take on a bunch of physical stress from your job? Are you working with your body a lot? So you got to ask yourself these questions. And so if you have too much physical stress, all of a sudden you're going to be increasing entropy, chemical stress, mental emotional stress. You're going to be increasing entropy in those areas, and all the recovery you want to do isn't going to matter. Now, why I bring this up too is this is one of the most important things. One must function. You have to function. You have to balance this out in order for you to adapt. I see so often that people will go into the personal trainer or the gym and they'll look to jump into the workout. They'll look to jump into that challenge thinking that this is going to give them the health they want, but that's not the case. And then they get burnt out because what they didn't do is they didn't address the function of their system. And you have to look at the whole part of you, the whole beingness of you as a human. Again, you got to look at the nervous system, the gastrointestinal system. You got to look at the cardiovascular system. You got to look at all of the systems interlinked in you and as a holistic being. If you can look at yourself as a holistic being, identify areas of stress on each one of those systems and increase the recovery, now you're going to function. So in each one of the courses that you'll see, we talk about how to reduce stress on that area, how to recover, how to lay function, and then you can go and face challenge. So that's really the fundamental core of each one of the courses in the Unbreakable Mind and the Unbreakable Body specifically. The Unbreakable Spirit walks you through more of a step-by-step process to reclaim yourself. But in the Unbreakable Mind and Unbreakable Body, we really just lay down what allows us to reduce stress and increase recovery, get that baseline of function for our body, our mind, so that we can literally think correctly, we can feel correctly, we can act correctly, we can move correctly. So now we can actually take on the challenge, take on the challenges of life. We can go out there into the arena of life and we can be more successful. Again, in order for us to be unbreakable, we just have to be moving in that direction, period. So if you're just moving towards evolution and you keep going and you keep going, then you will be unbreakable. But again, you must function. And so the physical act of doing these practices every single day, day in and day out, facing challenge every single day with the understanding of moving towards a specific outcome, then you will be unbreakable. Now, why do we have to do it every single day? Well, you see, entropy is constant, it's cumulative, and it's effortless. Constant meaning it's always going on. It's cumulative meaning it adds into itself. And it's effortless, meaning it doesn't take any energy for you to break down. You're going to die one day. We're all going to die, right? We know that to be a truth because of entropy, but it's a good thing. We need entropy. We need entropy in order for us to move on, in order for us to grow, in order for us to get rid of the old and bring in the new. It's the reason that we exhale and inhale, right? We exhale and we inhale so that we can bring in more energy from the universe because our body uses it up, and then we get rid of the waste, the carbon dioxide that we can't use. We bring in more oxygen, we get rid of more carbon dioxide. So that's literally what it is. Then you go about your day and you work and you function and et cetera, et cetera. And because of entropy, what's going to happen is that you got to eat. Okay, so then after the end of the day, you eat a couple times and you drink water throughout the day. And then at the end of the day, you've used all your energy up because of entropy. You're physically tired and mentally tired at the end of the day. And what do? You got to sleep because of entropy. And then you consider that same cycle. That same cycle is true for everything in your life. In your business, we've already talked about that. You got to give value. You got overhead. You got to give. But you also got to receive. You got to keep that cycle going. So if you just get down the baseline for each area of your life, in your health, in your wealth, in your relationships, in your career, in your work as a human on this earth, and you just get those fundamental practices down, and you face challenge with gusto, knowing that you're going towards a specific goal, an outcome, and you keep going in that process, keep going on that path, that is when you will be unbreakable. Again, you have to do the practices every day. Every day, every day. There's no end. It's just constant. It's just the way of nature. All of life moves through that same practice, that same process. It is just a practice, period. So, again, if you do this, if you function, if you adapt, and if you evolve, then you will be unbreakable. All right, so dive into the rest of the course. We'll talk more about how to be unbreakable in your mind, the fundamental principles of that. We'll talk about the functioning, how to be unbreakable in your body, how to develop an unbreakable body, how to develop an unbreakable mind. We'll also talk about how to develop an unbreakable spirit, which is more of a reclamation process. That's more of a journey. We'll talk about how the hero's journey comes into play on that. But ultimately, you're just going to be using these principles. That's it. That's how you become unbreakable. That's how you develop an unbreakable relationship. That's how you develop an unbreakable business. That's how you develop an unbreakable mind. That's how you develop an unbreakable body. You just keep going. You just keep going. And again, it doesn't mean that you can't be broken. That's the point. Of course you can. I've been broken. But if you just keep going and you just keep putting yourself together and you just create more function holistically as a human, and you create adaptation, you face challenge, and you move towards a goal, then you will be unbreakable. All right, guys, enjoy. We'll see you in the next course.